Okay, so good morning to all. I'm audible. Hello, is my voice audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in the last class, we have discussed about the gradient of the scalar. Okay, so in the gradient of a scalar, I have shown you or discussed regarding the question number one, that is the example number one, and we were discussing example number two. So we were not finished. Okay, so I am continuing with this example because this was not clear to many students. Okay, so before I start the question or before I discuss regarding the problem, I just want to revise once again that the gradient concept, that this is a del operator. Delta is nothing but the del operator. So del operator is applied on a scalar. So V is a scalar. So we get a vector. So when a del operator is applied on a scalar, we get a vector, and del operator can be applied on vectors also, scalars also. So it can be a del operator directly with a scalar, okay, with a scalar, or it can be multiplied with a vector, that means applied on a vector like cross product or a dot product with a vector, okay. And there can be Laplacian operator also, that is the double derivative on vector and scalars, that we have seen. But if we talk about the first one, that is the del operator on a scalar, output is a vector, that is called the gradient. The gradient of a scalar, gradient of scalar V, which means that if there is a point P1 and it is on a surface where the potential is V1, and if I want to jump to another surface, okay, that is V2, okay, where the potential is V2, okay. So here, okay, so this potential is V2. So now the point P1 has to be shifted somewhere over here, okay, so that we get a point P2 like this, okay. So that means I want to shift the point P1 to P2. Now this is the shortest path. If I travel this path, then it will not be shortest one. If I travel this path, it won't be the shortest one. But this is the shortest one. So I call it dn. And this is suppose dl1. This is suppose this is dl1. Suppose this is dl2 and suppose this is dl3. So dl1 is one path by which I can travel from P1 to P2. Okay. dl2 is another path and dl3 is another path. So there are three paths. Now it is observed that dl is minimum for dn. That means it is the minimum path. Minimum path where if it is perpendicular. If it is perpendicular, then it is the minimum path. So I am calling this path dn, normal path. But if I travel along dl2 and dl3, then it won't be minimum. So that means the change in the potential with respect to a distance, okay, is called the space rate of increase of potential. That means suppose V2 is greater than V1 by some margin. Suppose V2 is V1 plus delta V. Okay, delta V. So if I jump from P1 to P2, then the potential will increase. Okay, so the potential will increase. So the increase in potential I want to take place. Okay, one second. Okay, so as I was telling that I want to jump from P1 to P2 and increase the potential. But if I take the distance dl to be dl2, then it will take much more long time. So this ratio will be, because if the denominator is more, then what will happen? This whole thing will become means reduced. But if I take this path, if I take say this can be written like this, dv by dl1, मतलब dl1 पाथ भी ले सकते हैं, dl2 पाथ भी ले सकते हैं, dl3 पाथ भी ले सकते हैं, ठीक है, ये तीनों पाथ हम ले सकते हैं, ठीक है। dl मतलब इट इज अ यूनिवर्सल पाथ। नाउ सपोज इफ आई टेक dl1, if I take dl1, so dl1 is less than dl2 because this is shorter, this is longer, this is also longer. Okay, suppose dl1 is less than dl2, which is less than dl3, so dl3 is the longest one. Obviously dv by dl1 will be greater than dv by dl2. Why? Because if dl1 is shorter than dl2, so if I take dl1, so this whole numerator will increase, whole thing will increase, isn't it? So dl1 will increase. So I have to take that value of dl so that I get the maximum value of dv by dl. So maximum value of dv by dl is only possible, maximum value of dv by dl is only possible if I take the shortest path. Because if denominator is मिनिमम, अगर डिनोमिनेटर सबसे छोटा होगा तो ही इसका मैक्सिमम वैल्यू हमको मिलेगा। तो दिस इज इक्वल्स टू dn. Okay, so it is equals to dn. So dl is the minimum path. So that is why it is called this ratio of dv by dn. That is, if the space rate means rate of increase in voltage or potential with respect to space. So space rate of increase of potential, and you are getting the maximum space rate of increase of potential, that is called the gradient of V. That is called the gradient of V. So the maximum space rate of increase of potential is called the gradient of V. Okay, so that one we have discussed over here. That means it is the maximum space rate of increase of potential. Okay, okay, so maximum space rate of increase of potential, and G is nothing but gradient of V. Okay, G is a gradient of V. Okay, now coming to this question, this particular problem, here what we have seen that it is told that W is a scalar quantity. So W is scalar. We have to compute the gradient of W. Very easy. We will just apply this formula. This formula is known to us, and you will get the value. Okay, so this is the gradient. Now gradient is not dependent on a point, because gradient means what? Gradient, because it is a vector now. स्केल, जब W पहले स्केलर था, जब उसके ग्रेडियंट हमने निकाला तो वो वेक्टर बन गया, क्योंकि इसके पास यूनिट वेक्टर है x y z, it has unit vectors. Okay, so now once it is a unit vector, it is a vector. So if you draw or if you plot this on a x y z plane in the Cartesian coordinate system, okay, the Cartesian coordinate system, then you will see that there is a vector like this. It is gradient of W. It is a vector. Okay, gradient of W. Very good. Now the thing is, if this is a vector now, then if I take a point P, this point is P, suppose. If I take a point P on the vector, then what is the value of delta W at point P? What is the value of delta W at point P? What to do? Just put the values of point P into the vector. तो यहाँ पर क्या है, x और y स्क्वायर है, तो x पे 2 यूज करेंगे, 2 को पुट करेंगे, y पे -1 को पुट करेंगे, z you will put 0. like this, you will calculate delta W at point P. So at point P, delta W is this. How? Because you put 2 over here. So 2 into 2x. 2 into x becomes, x is 2. So 2 into 2, 4. Y is minus 1. So y square will be 1. So 4. This is 4. Plus z is 0. So this is 0. So 2. So it is 4 unit vector x. Okay. Plus 2. Then we have x square. That is 2 square. 2 square means 4. 2 into 4, 8. Y is minus 1. So minus 8. Minus 8 plus x is 2. Z is 0. So again 0. So minus 8 unit vector y. Plus x is 2. Y is minus 1. So minus 2 unit vector z. So this is delta W at point P. Okay. Now the question is, first question you have solved, that we have to compute delta W, that is the gradient of scalar W, and the direction derivative dW by dl in the direction of this at point P. That means what you have to do, if you come back to this particular figure once again, P1 to P2, this is shortest path. Now this is not the shortest path. Okay, this is not the shortest path. So what will happen? The question is very simple, that delta W is given. W is given. So if I draw it once again like this, x, y, z plane, because if I don't draw it, you won't understand it. Okay. So now W is a scalar. Now after doing the gradient of W, it becomes a vector. So it becomes a vector. Now I take a point P. Which is 2, minus 1, 0. 2, minus 1, 0. So what is delta W at P? We have got, it is this one, 4 unit vector x minus 8 unit vector y minus 2z. So 4 unit vector x minus 8 unit vector y minus 2z, 2 unit vector z we have got. Okay, so now the question is that we have got delta W like this, because there must be some case, then gradient, because we have calculated gradient, so there should be some case like this where there was W1, W2, where W2 was W1 plus delta W, and this one was one point, suppose Q1, and this one was point Q2. Okay, so when we have calculated the gradient, so we have taken the shortest path. So this is actually gradient of W, isn't it? We have taken shortest path. So this is gradient of W. But if it was asked that you don't take the shortest path, you travel along this path. This is dl. So it is not the shortest path. So how to calculate this vector? That means how to calculate dw by dl, because dw by dn is gradient of w, where dn is the minimum path which is less than dl. But if I want to calculate the longer one, how to calculate? Very easy. If you have the value of delta w over here, if you know the gradient of w, you have this vector, because इसका वेक्टर का वैल्यू पता है, ये है at point P. क्वेश्चन क्या है कि delta dw by dl, that means you have to calculate the gradient not along the shortest path, you have to calculate the gradient along the longest path. So it is not a gradient anymore, it is just change in w with respect to L. So you have to calculate that change in w with respect to L in this direction, in this path at a point P. So this path is this one, 3 unit vector x plus 4 unit vector y plus 12 unit vector z. So this is dl. This is dl. But dn, shortest path, we don't know. Okay, if we know shortest path, then we can calculate dw like this. इसको हम कैलकुलेट कर लेते, फिर dw by dn कर लेते, dl कर लेते, रिजल्ट मिल जाता. लेकिन because we don't know this value, so what we do, we will take the gradient, which is dw by dn, and we will multiply this direction with it, the unit vector. Because if there is a vector a, and if I multiply, okay, with a dot product of any other vector y, then it will travel along that direction, so its direction will change. Suppose it was traveling in this direction, I multiply with a the unit vector of another direction, now the direction will change. Okay, that is why what is done, that you have to calculate what is the unit vector of this particular path dl. So this path is there, dl is there, so what is the unit vector of this path? The unit vector of this path is along this direction, it is along this direction. So unit vector of dl is suppose al, which is nothing but vector divided by the mod of that vector. Okay, divided by the mod, because if I am able to know what is the unit vector, then if I multiply dw with that unit vector, then it will move along this direction. तब क्या करेगा, ये डेल्टा w, ग्रेडियंट ऑफ w शॉर्टेस्ट पाथ में नहीं जाएगा, इस यूनिट वेक्टर के साथ मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे तो इस यूनिट वेक्टर के साथ वो चला जाएगा. ओके, okay, so we will multiply with the unit vector, so that is why it is written over here delta w dot unit vector. Okay, so it will become actually a scalar, so I want to know only the value of dw by dl, the scalar value. Okay, so this term is known to you because it is written in this way, so it is not to be confused. If I neglect this, you don't have to concentrate on this, you concentrate on this. What is this one? This one is 4 unit vector x minus 8 unit vector y minus 2 unit vector z. Okay, that is written over here in this way, but you don't have to write in this way, this is not a proper way. You take dot product. Now unit vector l, what is unit vector l? It is the vector dl by mod of dl. What is vector dl? This one. So 3 unit vector x plus 4 unit vector y plus 12 unit vector z. Okay, then mod of that. So what is mod value of this? The mod value of dl will be root over of 3 square plus root over of 4 square, root over of 3 square plus 4 square plus 12 square. Okay, so it is 9, 16, 144. Okay, so 50, 60. So root over of 169, that is 13. So put 13. And you divide with 13, then you do the dot product. Then your answer will come this one, minus 44 by 13. Okay, got it? Now you understood this particular problem, that you have to calculate dw by dl. So if you don't know the value of dn, what you do, you know the gradient delta w, you just multiply the unit vector of dl with it. You multiply the unit vector of dl with it. Okay, you multiply it, then you will get the solution. Just multiply with it and you get the value. Have you understood now the problem?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then we can proceed with the next topic. Oh, sorry. Okay. So this topic we will discuss about the line, surface, and volume integral. Okay. So gradient of a scalar you have understood. Now there are few things which needs to be discussed when you are discussing about the vector calculus. Okay, so vector calculus, we have to determine, suppose we want to measure the length of any particular space in a vector. We want to measure it or any length. So what we do, we directly don't measure in terms of physics over here. We don't measure it directly. What we do, we break the entire length into small parts, because the length of that particular path is not always straight line. Because if it is a straight line, then we can measure it. But if it is not a straight line, then we cannot measure it. So what we can do, we can break the entire path, because this line is, suppose it is not straight. This line is not straight. Suppose you start from A to B. Is it straight line? No, it is not straight. So we will divide into small parts. And you will take a small part, suppose DL. Then you will integrate it. Suppose you have broken it down to 1000 parts. And you know that now if I break the into 1000 parts, now each part becomes a straight line. Isn't it? Because if the path is like this, suppose it is like this. Okay. Now obviously it's not a straight line, so you cannot measure it. You cannot measure with a tape, or you can say scale. You have to use a string. You have to put the string and then you have to elongate the string, which the way we are studying in our school level. What we will do in physics, we break into small parts, such a small part that every small part is like a straight line. Okay, equal parts, equal small parts. So if you break like this, so each line is a straight line now, because each line is a straight line like this. It will be a straight line. Suppose you have broken into say 20 parts. Okay, so you know the value of every part. Suppose every part is DL. So you integrate DL from 0 to 20 and you get the total length. Okay, total length of the line. So this is called line integral. So in this case, what we will do, that suppose we take a vector A is a vector. It is traveling like this from left to right. Suppose this is some electromagnetic wave or something, say flux. Okay, it is a vector like this. So now if I take a path from here, suppose I want to travel from A to B along this particular path, along through the vector. Within the vector, I want to travel this path. Okay, so that means what is the total path you have traveled? Okay, so that is calculated by the line integral. So line integral of integration A dot dl, that means the vector A, we have traveled the line L through vector A, and this is the equation. It is A dot dl. This is the line integral of the tangential component of A along the curve L. You are traveling along the curve L through the vector A. There is a line integral of A. So given a vector field A and curve L, we define the line integral as A dot dl integration, okay, which equals to A cos theta dl. Because obviously this is a dot product. If it is a dot product, it will be A dl cos theta and A to B. Okay, so it is A to B. Excuse me. Okay. So you are traveling from A to B. So this is the line integral from A to B. Now if I come back to A once again along this path where C is present, so what we will do, we will travel from A to B and B to C. It is called a closed path, closed curve. So A, B, C, A. So it becomes a closed contour integral, which is called the circulation of A around L. So in that case, we write the closed path, closed line integral like this, integral of L, and we put a ring sign. Okay, so where it is used, basically if you have a vector like this, vector A is given, and you are traveling along the vector in a closed path. So the line integral will be, in a closed path, it will be integration circle A dot dl. A is the vector and dl is the line, small part. And this is the angle, because everywhere this L and this vector, L is a vector because length is a vector and you are calculating the dot product. and line integral solution will be a scalar quantity. Why? Because it is a dot product. Okay, so this length is a vector, A is a vector. So if you perform the dot product, so it will become cos theta. So what is theta? Theta is the angle of angle theta, which is dl is making with respect to the vector. At every point there will be some different value of theta, because this is theta over here. Theta suppose 50 degree. Somewhere over here it will be 80 degree. Over here it will be 30 degree, 40 degree, 0 degree, anything. Okay. So if you are traveling along a vector and you are not making a closed loop, then you travel from A to B, then you will write line integral of A dot dl. But if you are traveling along a closed loop along a vector A, then you will write this closed integral. So it becomes a closed path. Okay. Now closed path is nothing but a surface. Now closed path is also a surface, and it can also represented like this. So given vector field A continuous in a region containing the smooth surface. So it is a closed path. So closed path is a surface now. Okay. Now every surface has a surface area. Okay. So if the question is asked what is the closed path line integral, then you will just use this formula. Okay. Now if it is asked that what is the area of this path, then you will take the surface area. Then in surface area also you cannot measure the area of the entire surface like this. Why? Because again it is not a perfect geometrical figure. It is not a cube, it is not a square, it is not a rectangle, it is not a triangle. So you cannot measure the area directly with using a formula. What you do? You take small parts, small squares. Okay, small squares like this. So everywhere you will get a square and the side you will get a triangle. You break into 1000 pieces. You find the area and break the 1000 pieces into equal length. Okay, and you integrate it. So that is called the surface integral. That is called the surface integral. So if a vector is there and in the vector you have a surface like this, and you want to measure the area of that surface which is lying inside the vector. So what you do? You calculate the surface integral by integrating this surface area of the small parts. So you have, suppose you are calculating phi. Phi is the surface area. Okay, suppose. So phi. Okay. So actually the phi is the value, not a surface area. It is a value. Okay. Surface area is S. Okay. So you want to calculate what is the resultant of the surface area with respect to the vector. Okay. Okay, what is the resultant of this vector with this surface area? Vector A with the surface area. So that means what amount of energy we are getting if the vector is traveling the surface area S? What amount of output? Suppose if I say if you have a bar magnet like this, okay, north pole and south pole, you have a bar magnet, and bar magnet has magnetic flux from north pole to south pole. All of you know this. In physics you have studied. The fluxes start from north pole, originate from north pole, and sink at the south pole. Now what are these magnetic flux? Can anyone tell me? What does this magnetic flux carry? What are these lines called? Anyone please tell what are these lines called?
Vector field lines.
Electromagnetic field lines. Yes, the magnetic field lines. No electro, because it is magnetic. It is not electromagnetic. It is only magnetism. There is no electricity over here. It is a permanent magnet. So it is magnetism. So it is magnetic field lines. Okay. So it is magnetic field lines. So what is creating these field lines? Lines we can everyone see. Well, these are lines. But what is creating these field lines? Have you heard the word flux? F-L-U-X, magnetic flux. So these magnetic flux are creating these field lines. Okay, because magnetic flux is creating these field lines, because everywhere there is flux. So when the flux are aligning in a particular path and following a direction, then it becomes a field line. So fluxes are actually flowing from North Pole to South Pole. The magnetic fluxes are flowing from North Pole to South Pole. Okay. Now, if I put a area surface like this over here, if I put a surface, a sheet, that sheet is having an area S. Okay. So total flux is flowing is phi and it is entering the sheet. Okay. So what is the flux density? That is amount of flux with respect to area. That is called the flux density. That is B. The unit of flux is Weber, area is meter square, flux density is Weber per meter square, or it is also called Tesla. B is the flux density. Now if I know the value of flux density is a vector. If I know the value of flux density, if I know the value of area, then flux density can be calculated by B dot S. That is, density into area will give you flux. Okay. So now if this area, suppose this vector A is actually this flux density B. Okay. And S is the surface area where fluxes are flowing. So what is the total amount of flux inside this area? That is called the, for that we have to calculate the surface integral. Because this area is not a rectangle like this. If it is a rectangle like this, then we can easily measure the value of the area by using the formula, length into breadth. But if it is not a rectangle, it is like this structure, amoeba structure with no particular shape. Okay, so in that case, we have to break this area into small parts and you have to integrate. So S is nothing but integration of small part of ds. So if I calculate, so flux is represented by phi, but in many books it is also represented by psi. That is why I am showing you both the letters, Greek letters, Greek alphabets. So psi, if I talk about psi, so psi is b dot s. So it is nothing but b integration of ds along s. Okay, ds along s. Again, it is a dot product. Okay, it is dot product. So b dot ds. So in this case, b you are writing as a. So a dot ds. So it is a cos theta. Now cos theta means this vector a is having a direction. So is area having a direction? Because length we know, length is having a direction like this. Length is having a direction. A is having a direction. So we know this area. Angle is theta. But in area, if this is a surface, this is a small surface, okay, this is the direction of the vector A. So what is the direction of the area? Area direction, the unit vector is always perpendicular, because if you take a area like this, I have already told you that area unit vector will be perpendicular to it. Anywhere, if it is like this, it is perpendicular like this. So this is the normal vector, and what this vector angle it is making with respect to the vector A, that is the theta. That is the theta. That is why it is written as a cos theta ds. Also, cos theta means a cos theta 1, that is a dot unit vector n. Unit vector n is the normal one, because if I write a cos theta, a is a vector. Okay, a cos theta. So a cos theta means a into a unit vector, a dot unit vector, because if I calculate dot, it will be a mod 1 cos theta. It is nothing but a vector dot a unit vector, or like this. It is also written 1n or an. Okay, or this is written in this way. Now if I take the area, okay, along a closed path for a closed surface, basically area is or generally in the closed surface, okay. If it is a closed surface, because area may not be in the closed surface. Suppose I want to measure the area up to the in this particular area only, uh, this part, then I will use this formula. But if I take the entire part, then it will be a closed surface integral. Got it? Any question regarding this? Do you have any question?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. So, sorry. Okay. So now the this one now for a volume. So so closed part defines the open surface, whereas closed surface defines the volume. So this line is very important. That means if you have a line length like this, okay, this is a length, total length L, and each segment is dl. This is an open surface, open path. Now, if we take a closed path like this, closed path starting from A to B along C, so it is a closed path. So a closed path means an open surface. It's generally open surface. And if I take a closed surface means surface over here, surface on the every side, three dimensional. It becomes a volume. Suppose this one, this is a volume. This is a cube. So this is a open surface. This is another open surface. But if I want to take the closed surface, then I will take the closed surface of the entire, all the six sides. Then it becomes a volume. That is why it is told that a closed path is an open surface, whereas a closed surface is a volume. That means a closed path is an open surface, and a closed surface is a volume. And volume is represented like this, because volume is a scalar quantity, so we don't have to go for that dot product. So basically, if you have a big structure, okay, if you have another shape like this of a rock, okay, if a rock is like this, three-dimensional structure, okay, rock or a block of something. So this is, it is having six sides. So you cannot measure the volume directly because it is not a cube or a whatever surface, geometrical surface. So you have to break into small cubes. You have to break into small cubes. Then you infinite, so thousands of cubes are there. You integrate. So every small cube has an area of this one. So it is a small area. Okay. So sorry, small volume. Small volume integrated with the total number of volumes will get the entire volume. Okay. So I will just discuss about this. I will continue the divergence in the next class. Okay. Because divergence is a, if I start, you will take at least 30 minutes to explain. So if you have any question regarding this particular lecture, then you can ask. Do you have any question? So have you understood this particular line integral, surface integral, and volume integral? This one you understood, no? Line integral. What is line integral? And what is a closed line integral? A closed line integral becomes a surface integral. And a closed surface integral becomes a volume integral. So volume integral is nothing but this closed surface integral. Because this concept will be required when you study the divergence of a vector and divergence theorem. Because divergence theorem is based on this surface integral and volume integral. And I hope you have understood this particular problem also. Got it? Ayush,
Yes, sir.
any question?
No, sir.
Okay. Uh, Danish or others? Praveen, Asgar, Shamshed, and Yash. How many are present today? One, two, three, four, five, six. Only six. Only six are present. Okay, so I will share the notes with you in the Google Classroom. You must follow it. Okay, and I will also share some assignment because there is a 7 day, 7 to 8 days holiday in between from starting from Diwali to Chhath Puja. So after that, after few lectures, I will be, giving one assignment. I will give an assignment to you in their Google Classroom. So you have to answer that assignment because I want to know that how much you have studied. Okay. So you study in this particular 7 to 8 days holidays. Okay. Then after that, I will be giving an assignment. And if you come across any question, any problem in any topic till far how much we have discussed, okay, then you can ask in the next class. We will discuss in that class. Okay. Okay. So thank you then, students, and happy Diwali and Chhath Puja to all.
Same to you, sir.
Okay. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.